early morning. This is JC with Be With Television. I'll be your host this morning. Wherever you're at, grab you some coffee. It's going to be a fun one. What we're going to do today is, what I have for you is setting up your own domain controller. And you'll be able to join those Windows and Mac PCs to your domain network. So today we've got our lab set up in GNS3. We'll be working with our Windows client machine, which I have already got pre-staged and set up, so I'm not going to take you through installing Windows 7 on a client machine. What we'll be working with is Zentyal, Zentyal. So let's get started. If you have not already, go ahead and download from the website. Download their the most recent version or edition that they have available here, which you can go here and features and where are you at here? Oh, here we go. So you want to download this development edition. So it's going to start downloading, and once you've done that, you can be ready to get started here. But I've already done quite a bit of that, so I've got mine downloaded. I'll be conducting a lot of the lab here in a virtual environment. So let's go back. We got our domain controller up. I initialized it so we could get started here. This is like the initial kind of setup where you're going through doing your keyboard. You're gonna want to do just keep all the default selections. So we're gonna say no on the keyboard. All defaults is pretty much English. It's gonna detect your hardware. Okay, now this is probably not going to be the fun part, but we'll let this ride. If you'd like to maybe just fast forward through this, I may do a little TV magic editing once I do the video and get that all complete. Alright, so that's just going pretty good. It's going to detect our network. Oh, you know what? One thing, I didn't even start up my network. So, when that's running, I'm going to go ahead and start up my routers and my switches here in my network connection. Start. And console. Router. And the switch. So once these are up and we got some IP address and we're getting out online, I'll check that out here in a second. Okay. So our interfaces are waiting. We're just waiting on our interface to come up, and then our NAT interface, so we're getting an IP address. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let me fix that. So it's because it's not getting a DHCP address. Okay. Check that. Give it a second here, folks. It normally takes a couple of minutes here. There we go. So we got an IP address on our router, and our VLAN should be up. Perfect. All right. So let's go back. Let's continue. Let me pull this back up. Hit that again. We're gonna retry DHCP. Damn, I think that worked now. So looking good. Network auto configuration succeeded. Host name. So you just want to give it an easy host name. We'll call this host name. We'll just leave it default. You can change it to whatever you want, but I'm gonna just leave it as the default, just for the purpose of this lab that we're running through here. user account. I'm gonna do something easy here, just for the purpose of this account. Okay, and continue. Yeah, I know. Says I'm choosing a weak password, but just for the purpose of this tutorial, I didn't want to make a complicated password and then forget, and then writing all this stuff down. And just keep it KISS, baby. Keep it simple. Stupid. Okay, based on my location. Okay, so time zone looks good for where I'm at. Alright, it says amount of partition. Do you want to unmount? Yeah, because I have this from a previous install. So we're going to do a fresh install from scratch. This may take a little time, so if you'd like to go take your little quick bathroom break, get you a cup of coffee, whatever suits your fancy, go ahead and do that. Like I said, I will probably movie magic edit this once. Okay, perfect. So it's going to be installing some core packages here so we can complete the install. This is looking good so far. Okay. It's working, folks. Just bear with me. It's working, doing its thing. So be patient. We'll have some patience here. I see the hard drive light is doing its thing. Once it gets these core stuff installed, we can finish. You'll see what I'm talking about, though. Let's just keep rolling here. So awesome. This is gonna. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna log in with the username and password that you created at the beginning of the install. Alright, so this is our initial setup. Thanks for choosing. We got a few steps left. Okay, let's hit continue. Alright, so you see there's several components here you can install. You can select from these server roles as they call them. So, but what we want our domain controller and file sharing. That's what we're working on in this video. So let's hit that. And we don't need anything else at the moment. And now it may install, which I think it will. Say install. So yeah, it's going to install any other additional server roles or modules that's necessary to have the server, get the server up and running. So as you see it, obviously we need network. It's installed firewall, DNS, NTP service, network time protocol service, and domain controller and file sharing. So this is what we want. Go ahead and, if this looks good, you just go ahead and hit continue. Awesome. So we got a few more minutes to wait, folks. As you can see here, it's going to start downloading some packages for the installation of our server roles. So if you want to do another bathroom break, that would be fine. I'll most likely do some movie magic again and try to edit this and shrink it down a little bit so you're not looking at a very long video, the progress bar. Alright, so if you'd like to take your break, go ahead and go do that, and we'll dial back in as soon as this is done. Okay, so now that we've went through, it looks like it's installed the base stuff. We're gonna have to configure our Okay, now that we went through and we have our, it look like the base installs kind of went through, we're at our initial configuration. So what we want to do, we want our configure interface types. If you have your machine on a external network connected, you just choose appropriately. For the purpose of my lab, I am going to do internal because this is behind a router. So we're not routing traffic with this. So this is behind a router. I'm going to choose internal for my interface type. We're going to say next. Okay, now if you already have your IP address reserved and you have an address reserved, you can go ahead and put in a static IP address if you have all that information. For the purpose of my video here, I'm going to choose DHCP because I'm running DHCP off of my router, so there's no need for me to have that. I'm going to choose DHCP so it can pull an address. Now you can do that, and then at a later time let it pull an address via DHCP and then reserve that address. For the purpose of this, we're going to leave it at DHCP and we're going to click on next. Okay, so for this, this is another important piece. So this is our users and groups. We're going to set this up as a standalone server. This will just be by itself. Okay, and our domain that we're going to be setting up will be, you can go in here and put whatever you want to put. For the purpose of my lab, this is going to be gns3lab.net. Okay. Now, if you were doing an additional domain controller, or if you'd be adding this as an additional domain controller, you choose that radio option there and then fill in the options appropriately. So, well, we got our setup standalone. We've got our domain host. We've got our host domain. Excuse me. So let's click on finish. Awesome sauce. It's gonna do some post configuration stuff here. This isn't gonna take long at all, so and this is what we're installing, a natively compatible with Microsoft. So you should be able to access, even connect your Outlook client to this, so you can send and receive mail, things like that. This is a pretty nice server. Okay, it's almost done here, setting up the modules. I've been using this server probably since maybe early version 4, maybe. It's been for several years now, maybe 5 years now. I've used this as a primary server to host my network. So and it served pretty well. I can't really say I can have any complaints. I had it running as a physical bare metal machine. Had it set up running like that for a while, and then I gravitated into migrating some of my servers to a virtual environment, and this became one of them. So, and it's still running like a champ. You know, I have it virtualized. We're almost done here, folks. Okay. Are we about ready? And now this server does come in 2 versions, and what we're installing is what they call is more of a community version edition. It's a development edition, and then they have a commercial edition. All right, so we're done. If you got the little panda with the thumbs up, congratulations. Let's go ahead and click this and go to the dashboard. Okay, so this is our dashboard. Let me big the screen here. So it says we got some updates. I'm gonna do that first. First and foremost, you know, you got running your server. Go ahead and get all. See, so warning here: these are untested community updates that might harm your system. In production environments, we recommend using commercial server editions, fully supported by Zentyal, SL, and Canonical Ubuntu. I always had a hard time pronouncing that. Okay, so you can go through, if you're setting this up to run on your own network, I suggest you go through here. The ones with the check marks, I do those first, and then go back and do your updating on the remainder. Data. This ain't going to have any effect on me for our lab purpose, but I hate seeing updates, but for our purpose of our lab, we're not gonna worry about those for right now. So what we're doing, we're setting up our domain controller. So let's go here to our domain, check out our settings. We got our server roles right, description of our server. I'm going to call this domain controller for server description. Domain controller. So here, what this will do is you can enable roaming profiles where a profile will load up just like in Windows AD environment. The profile will follow the user, so whatever machine that they log on to, it'll be the exact same profile. Here you can select the drive letter that you want to have, because once they'll have a share mapping mapped to the server where they'll be able to store data. Here you can choose whatever letter you want here. Let's say U. We're going to say U for user. So we're going to change that domain. Okay, that looks good, and we're going to save that. So these are a few just pre-steps or prerequisite things we're going to do just to make sure everything falls in line. Okay, that looks good. Now let's go to our network's good. Let's actually we're gonna do this. Let's take a look at the IP address. We have 12.3. Okay, and let's make sure, let's see if we can get outside. I always like to, perfect, so that's working. Alright, so let me close that, or let's just minimize it. So the next thing you want to do is, and here's one thing that I did find out in setting this up. So even though you go through the process of setting this up and you create a initial user account, you need to actually create another account that is a domain administrator. See, even though admin is here, I found out that it won't. You can't join a user or a machine. You can't join a machine to your domain using this administrative account. So what I've done is I learned that you have to just basically go in and you have to create a new account. So we're going to go in here. We're going to say create new user, and we're going to call this user GNS admin, and your first name is GNS3, last name is network. Description, you are a domain administrator. Okay, I'm going to give you, okay, your password, okay, and you're a domain administrator. Looks good, and add. I don't want to save that. So here's our new domain administrator. So make sure he's in that group, and there he is. Perfect. We've got our domain controller. Here's our domain level, our tree structure. So all that looks good. All that looks good. There's nothing else that you need to create here. Now, if you wanna create another share here, I'm gonna go in here. We're gonna call this I don't know. Let's say we'll call it file share. So if you want to set up, you got a location that you want to have. If you got space on your server, We'll just call this network file share. So we're going to leave it directory under Zentyal. Now if you do have a path to a location on your server that you use specifically for sharing, then you could make that change here, and then you put the path in here on your the path on your server. So for right now we're going to use directory under Zentyal, and it says here that when you leave it there, it's going to create it under home, Samba, and then shares. So we'll see that. Okay, we don't want guest access, and we're going to add missing Alright, so there we go. So and the Zentyal looks good. I forgot, I didn't put my path in, y'all. I'm crazy. Alright, so there we go. Access control. Here you can go in and add access control to that. You know, you can add users to a group and then say I only want these users to access. You can say read only, write, whatnot. So that's how you can kind of add some stuff on your share there. Okay, that looks good. Let's save that. And then while that's saving, so our server, our domain controller is set up. That's primarily the only thing you needed to do. Let's go back to our network here, and now let's fire up our Windows machine. Alright, so our client machine's coming up. I preloaded this already, so I've already got just a basic user account set up on here. Alright, so your Windows machine comes up. Let's go ahead and you got to log in with the administrative account for your Windows machine. So we're logged in. We're going to let it grab an IP address. Make sure we're communicating. Let's give it a second here while it's coming up. Say C and D. Come on there, buddy. Come on. Make sure it's getting there. Doesn't have anything yet. Be patient here. There we go. Takes a little time for it to pull an address here, and there we go. So we are at, our Windows machine is at 192.168.12.4. Our domain controller, our Zentyal drop-in domain controller here, we're sitting at 192.168.12.3. Okay. Oh, I got too many of those open. Alright, so let's go back to our Win7 machine. Let's ping. So I like to do some communication just to verify. 12.3. Oh, leave it to me to typo. 168.12.3. Looking good. So we're getting pings coming back from our server. Are we getting out too like we were on the server? I like to do the Google. Perfect. So we're hitting our server. We're hitting out to the internet world. So let's go ahead and let's join our Windows machine. Let's join it to our domain. So you click start. right click on computer and go to properties. Right now we're in a work group setup. You can see work group, and the name of our machine is Win Test Box. So you're going to click on change, and then to rename this, just go ahead and click change, and then you're going to type in the name, your domain name of your domain off of your domain controller. And what we said was gns3lab.net. Okay. And we're going to click OK. Bam. So look, there we go. GNS3Lab. So it found our domain. Perfect. And so here's the key piece. You're going to type in the username and password of that domain user account that you created. So this domain account that we created, that's what we're going to type in, which ours was GNS admin. That's right, wasn't it? Was it GNS admin? Yeah, GNS admin. And the password for him. Let's click OK. It's thinking. Voila, folks. There we have it. Welcome to the GNS3lab.net domain. We're going to click OK. Changes are applied. Let's go ahead and restart. Restart now. And we're going to verify. We'll let that restart. Let's take a look at our server. Let's go back in, kind of click back in and go back to the dash. And then let's go back to users and computers. Because this is some slick stuff here. Let's go to manage. We'll take a look, see what we have. Folks, there it is. There's our Win Test Box right there. Under GNS3 Lab, under the computers OU, we have a test box. So let's go ahead and let's log in. We'll verify. Okay, we'll do a Control-Alt-Delete. So right now let's switch user. You want to say other user, and wow, look at that. Check that out. GNS3 Lab. That's our domain. So now you should be able to log in with any user account that is created in your domain. So we have that. Let's log in with that GNS3 admin account. That should get us right in. GNS_admin. Then the password for that account. Okay, looks good. If everything worked right, we should be logging in. Preparing desktop, folks. We got success. Looks good. Looks good. I want to let this come on up. We'll see how this bad boy comes up after it's been joined onto the domain. So folks, we have a running machine, and look at that. WinTestBox.gns3lab.net. This is our host name of the machine after it's been joined to our network. Look at that. GNS3 network is the person logged in. Let's take a look at computer. Here's that user folder that we created, or that user share. I told you it creates that U folder where it creates that space on the server. So that looks good. Awesome. I'm gonna turn on file sharing. This is pretty awesome. Pretty impressed. So now you can essentially go in here. You can go in here if you want to do folder. This is on your server, and let's delete that. Okay, now let's go. So it's pretty much that's all it is to it. That is how you set up a drop-in Active Directory replacement. Set up your realm and then join that machine to your domain. As you can see, we've proved that here. It actually works. I have a machine we've joined to our domain. We're on GNS3 LabNet. We go check out our server. Here's our computer here that we've joined. Looks good. I hope this has been a very, very good, nice, informative video for you. You got something out of it. Those that are looking to work with solutions with Zentyal. If you have any questions, comment in the comment field below. If you have any questions, leave your questions also. I'd love to hear back from you. I had a great time making this video. I hope to see you on the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click that like button. Give me some of those likes. Don't just click on it. I want you to pound it several times and share it with your friend. Alright? I'll catch y'all on the next go round.